I use this phrase, use it or lose it, to remind myself of the importance of going into the archives and using them and being a shared cultural custodian of our past and of these records. And I think it's really important because archival institutions receive their funding from the government based on how many people are going in and using them. And, I mean, it could be use online as well as use in person, but either way, that's use it or lose it. If we're not using it, they don't get the numbers and the funding dries up. And when the funding dries up, the kilometre space that they have to store their archives shrinks. And this leaves that archives in that very precarious position of having to make those difficult decisions about what to keep and what to throw out. And when we do that, when archivists do that, they cannot really help but to approach this through their own cultural lens of what is valuable and appropriate. Now, they do a lot of professional research in this space, but here's one that really has made me kind of gasp. And it is in the 1930s, the Western Australian state records were thinking about having to throw out some records, and they looked at their convict records. And you know, for a long time, they were quite determined to throw them out. And eventually kind of public outcry happened and they decided not to. But you know, one of the reasons that they thought like that was because there was still that kind of taint and shame around convictism, particularly in the 1920s and 30s. You know, Australia was a new modern nation. They wanted to wash the convict stain and they wanted to see themselves as a free and enterprising society, a modern society. So get rid of the convict records. But had they done that, thousands of people wouldn't be able to trace their history, they wouldn't know their family history, and we wouldn't be able to put together that very distinctive history, which is the South Australian penal convict history. So there's a great kind of example of how precious these records are and how we need to use them